Long as you're happy, you're always gonna grin. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. Never gonna lose, never gonna win. Long as you're happy, you're always gonna grin. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. You get out what you put in. There we are live. Hello, Naveed. How are you?
Hello, I'm okay, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm really good. That song always gets me going. So that song is actually called Full Cup, which is the name of my company. So unbelievably. So Naveed, how are you? You're keeping well. You are looking absolutely superb. We used to work together. It's nice to have you on my show. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please, sir.
So I'm an accountant. I started my accountancy practice just over 3 years ago now. And something unique about our practice was that we set up a back office at the beginning of the practice. Rather than going into outsourcing later, we set up our own back office in Pakistan, and that's where our journey started. So we now serve direct businesses, so your SME clients in the UK, as well as I have some outsourcing clients, specifically working with accountants who perhaps need help with their outsourcing, outsourcing, offshoring some of their work.
Fantastic. So just I obviously know that you're in the UK. Tell everybody where you are, because so you've set up your practice. Where are you in the UK?
I'm based in London and Kent. So I live in Southeast London. Practice is based across Southeast London and Kent.
Fantastic. But all of your back office
is in Pakistan.
Is in Pakistan. And why have we got the link with Pakistan, Naveed?
So I was born and brought up in Pakistan. So I moved to UK when I was 17. So did my education, my A-levels, bachelor's, master's. And then eventually I started working for some of the Pakistani outsourcing firms whilst I was working for practices in the UK.
Okay.
So that's where the connection happened. I had no plans of setting up an offshoring office back then, but over the last, I think 5 years or 6 years, the way outsourcing and offshoring went in accountancy industry, I thought to myself that if I were ever to start my own business, that's the model I would adopt to. And that's where it all started.
Fantastic. So do you have any offices in the UK?
Yes. So we do have a virtual office. Post-COVID, so we had a physical office. Pre-COVID, we had a physical office. Post-COVID, we are now a virtual firm.
Right, okay.
Just like anyone else, we have a virtual address, and I do any client meetings on that address. And most of them are now happening on Zoom anyway. But yeah, we do have an office in UK and client base in UK.
Fantastic. So this is fascinating, your story, because a lot of accountants set up without the idea of a back office, and it's just them on their own. And obviously, so when you set up, you were thinking about scaling anyway. Is that right?
Yes. So I mean, I don't know. It's like a chicken and egg situation, which came first. So the first year of my business, we were expecting our first baby. And I thought to myself, there is no way I'm going to be able to scale and grow a business and still have time for the things I like. And whilst I was transiting into running my own business, I was the client relationship manager, or a practice, you call it client relationship manager effectively, for the firm I was working with. And I realized that for us to grow the practice, there is no way I can do sign up of the clients, practice management, selling, and then doing the work and have a family while starting a brand new accountancy practice. So on the back of this, I think I had to manage salaries of 2 employees in year 1 without having the revenue, if that makes sense, because revenue came a few months down the line.
Yeah.
And the salaries were managed and expected and paid even advance. So that was always the plan. When I came to my own practice, I thought, I'm not doing it the way I've seen all the other accountants around me doing it. Or so that was the motivation behind doing the whole thing.
Yeah, no, and that is a very brave thing to do, because when you set up a business, and I know because I've been doing it a year, you've got all these things that I can do this and I can do that, but you need money.
And you actually invested a load of money in the people and the processes behind the scenes to enable you to do what you really wanted to do. And that is absolute genius. So why is it purely because you value your time, or what was the motivation there to spend all this money out before you even had any money coming in?
Number of things. I think one, I wanted a fast scale accountancy practice. I'm nowhere near fast scaling, but I wanted a fast scaling accountancy practice. Second, I had a bigger target in mind, so my target is more sizable and chunkable than most accountancy practices aim to be. So I want to build a £5 million firm. So I don't even consider a million anymore. So I want to build a £5 million firm, and that's my motivation basically. The third thing is about helping people in the other parts of the world as well. So we're just not there for profit making. We reinvest that profit into local communities as well. So that's another big motivation was behind it. And yes, the other thing is the service we were offering. So we were offering compliance service at a good cost base, lots of compliance service, but then at least trying to then. Well, bottom line was that making a profit was very important to me from day one, because I have seen businesses as an accountant where they're scaling, they are growing, but they're not making a profit. And when it comes to scaling your business and you need investments and finance and other bits, you struggle because you haven't made a profit. So for me, making a profit from day one was very important.
No, absolutely fantastic. I love that motivation. So you are now not just an accountant doing accountancy sort of stuff, but you're also helping accountants and bookkeepers because they've done it the other way around, and now they're struggling because they can't get staff or they've got too much work. So tell us how you're able to help accountants and bookkeepers, please, Naveed.
So in most of the clients who came to us for outsourcing work came through referrals and Facebook groups and networking groups I got involved with. And the bottom line problem was exactly the same. They wanted to scale. They weren't sure about the scalability they were looking for. So they have an idea, but it takes time and the process and good sales funnel to actually have that scalability. And the third thing was they wanted to offshore their compliance work. So the more automation is happening in the compliance work, is easier it is becoming to offshore. And they were now coming to a point that they can use the right amount of technology to offshore the compliance work and get that done at a very good standard through using through offshoring firms, basically. And I think the offshoring as an industry has come a long way over the 5 years. They have embedded more and created a community around accountants and CPAs, which means the more trust has been developed. And that is what we sold and people bought into.
No, absolutely super. So you say, is it offshoring or outsourcing? So you actually, so if I get you to do work for me, I will actually have one of your team working for me. Is that right?
Yes. So there are two main models you can utilize. So you can either do a block hours. So you can book like 60, 70, 80 or 100 hours a month, or you can have a permanent resource in one of these offshoring offices. And hence the terminology changes. The end result is exactly the same, but the terminology changes with how you want to do it. So if you're not sure that you want to have a full-time resource, I'll go with block hours or 1 or 2 hours or 20 hours, 30 hours, or look at the seasonal variations. And if you are 100% confident that you will be able to fill their time and utilize them to the best of their abilities, then perhaps go for a fixed resource, and that would give you a lot more freedom.
Yeah, absolutely superb. That's brilliant. So what challenges are you seeing bookkeepers and accountants having at the moment then, Naveed?
It's a number of things. So one thing for me is the keeping up with the technology is a serious challenge. Finding optimization and streamlining and automation is another big challenge for me. We are continuously in our own practice looking to optimize and automate what we are doing. It's almost coming to a point where I'm thinking I need to employ someone just to keep up with technology.
Wow.
So that's the thing. I think compliance work would put more pressure on smaller firms. somebody needs to do bookkeeping, somebody needs to do it properly. Bookkeeping is the crux of everything we then produce. So the compliance work would always be there, but how you do it is going to change. And the more automation you would use, the more accounting software you use, the better it would become, basically. And recruitment itself would always be a challenge. I mean, I'm recruiting in UK at the moment. I've recruited someone 6 months ago. He's a full-time accountant. I'm looking for a second accountant now in UK. But then the struggle has been is to find the right person who can embed in our values. Because my firm is structured very differently. My own firm structured is very differently. You're doing lots of delegation, lots of delivery of work, rather than doing lots of work yourself. So I need someone with fair amount of management experience and delegation experience. So recruitment would always be a challenge. And I think MTD, which is the self-assessment MTD kicking in next year, that's always going to put people in pressure and understand where they want to be.
Cool, lovely. So you can help accountants in this area by just grabbing hold of everything for them, or do you do little bits for them? What's the best working relationship?
It's mixed and matched. So some practices have literally utilized us as their back office, and we have been able to do their accounting, the self-assessments, payroll, and really help them throughout in every way, even so much so given them advice on practice management solutions. Some accountants, they had a very specific business model, so they wanted just a bookkeeping service because that's the business model they are selling. So they said, okay, we will take on the bookkeeping service from you. Some accountants use us in their peak period, which is anything between November and January. So they will come to us and say, could you help us for the next 3 months? We'll be like, yes, that's fine. We'll agree a price point, delivery options, and everything else. And then we can deliver those services. And come February, I normally expect an email to say, thank you so much. We will come back to you again, which is fine. So yeah, I mean, it's very important before you go to outsourcing is to understand what outcomes you're looking for. Because your outcomes would only be as good as your input, basically. So once you understand your outcomes and what are you looking for, then you will take the right steps to achieve those outcomes.
Yeah, you're not a silver bullet, are you?
No.
So it's very much on the consultancy. I'm just thinking here, Naveed. If I set up my own accountancy firm right now, I could just outsource everything to you, and you could make sure that I set it all up accordingly. I'd have a mirror image of your practice, wouldn't I?
Yes, you can. I mean, that's if you're someone who loves selling and client interaction, even if you don't love selling and you enjoy, this is a skill. As an accountant, I didn't have a skill of to sell. I had to learn how to sell. I had to learn how to attract clients and say the right things and etc. So if you're an accountant now looking to set up, I think the cost of having someone to help you a month is so marginal that I would consider having that from day one, or day 3 or month 3, rather than year 1 and year 2. Because I think lots of people leave it till year 1 and year 2 and end up crunching themselves under doing the things they don't love. So if you're setting up business now or an accountancy firm where you want to do the things you love, then bite a bullet and have that cost from day 1 or month 3 or month 4, because I think that would make hell of a difference in your life.
Yeah, no, very wise words, because you bit that bullet and now look where you are now. So rather than me, because I end up working with accountants that have got to a stage where they've got so many clients they cannot see the wood for the trees, and then they're just backed into a corner, and it just becomes painful. So you're advocating that don't even let it get that far. Concentrate on the things that you're doing.
I think again the cost point and the entry point is far more marginal in a bigger scheme of things. And as we are focusing towards advisory work as an accountancy, it would free up your time to do more advisory work, and that's the bottom line. I mean, I strongly believe even the advisory work can be outsourced eventually. And
okay.
At the point where we are doing advisory work out of Pakistan, and there is a plan about it, but we're not there yet.
Oh, this sounds really interesting. That might be the
So,
show next year. Excellent. I like that, because that's what everyone is. This is the panacea, isn't it? This is the holy grail that everyone's looking for, is how do I do advisory, because I've got to be doing advisory. And so, yeah, so maybe we need to book a show for next year, Naveed, before you disappear. So we can talk about that next year.
I will still be here doing what I do. So
what's your top tip that you can give an accountant right now then?
Speak to, I mean, if you're looking to outsource now, I would say invest some time or spend some time in understanding, not just with us, other outsourcing firms, speaking to them. So speak to 3 or 4 firms and see what they feel about it and how do they wish to go about it. So they will get a feel, because finding a right outsourcing partner is ever so important. So make sure you find the right partner for yourself.
No, that's great advice. And I've spoken to accountants bookkeepers a lot, but it's just like employing a new member of the team, isn't it? You get 4 candidates through the door that want to come and work for you, but you might only hit it off with one of them. And I guess this is exactly the same with an outsourcing, offshoring partner, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. I mean, you can't treat them as somebody not part of your team. I mean, when we get clients on board, one thing I strongly encourage the practice owners is to include them in their weekly team meetings, or a monthly catch-up, or schedule time to actually catch up with your team members, because that's where the relationship building happens. And once they feel part of your firm, they would do more to make sure that they are doing the right thing. And that's where the learning happens as well. Because even though the text is same, everyone is doing the same thing, there are variations how people do things within practices. Your working paper file could be very different to mine. The way you do your working papers could be different to mine. You might be using Excel or zero working papers. So that's where the learning happens, and people embed in your culture. It's about them adopting to your culture and your working practices.
No, perfect. I got a question from Firdaus. Hi, Firdaus. How are you? So what's the first thing she should do to start her firm? Come on, you've been there and done that. I know it's off script, but come on.
So first thing I would do is get yourself a coach. So I think I got myself a business coach when my revenue was even a £50,000 a year. And I think that was the massive investment I did, and I scaled up with it. Because then having a coach means you have accountability. Once you have accountability, you will take actions. When you take actions, you make progress. So there is a series of things. I mean, a lot of time when we do it on our own, if you haven't done something, there is no accountability apart from our own selves, unless you are a really headstrong person who would make sure that you action everything. But life happens. That's why, even the headstrong person, sometimes they are ill, they can't get to work, they got family, many other things. So I think the first thing I did is to call myself a coach. Second, I always wanted £1 million firm. I thought, I'm not doing this. So I was quite clear on my end goal as well from day one, that I want £1 million firm. And that's 2 things I would say.
No, fantastic. I love that. So I'm smiling when you say about a coach. That was the first hire I made. And you can just see here, just there are a couple of Post-it notes, because I'm headstrong, I'm focused, I'm organized, but with that accountability, that is that is key. So I meet with Richard every single week, and he pats me on the back if I've done something good, kicks me up the bum if I haven't done something, but invariably he's not kicking me up the bum, because I know I'm meeting with him and I don't want him to kick me up the bum, so it gets done. But I totally agree with you. That's a great bit of advice. I hope that helps your you've put me off now for those. So there we go. I'm going to be a coach. And that's the thing, isn't it? And the guitars on the wall behind me remind me of Steve. Now, Steve is my guitar teacher. Until I started paying to go to Steve, my progress was slow. because I was using YouTube videos and stuff like that, but I was going to see Steve every single week. And so yeah, for those, let's have a chat. We won't do it live on air, but yeah, be more than happy to work with you. So what's your best story of how you've helped a bookkeeper or an accountant? Obviously no names, but you know, what have you done that's really helped somebody with what you're doing in Pakistan?
I mean, few of them. I think my biggest success is my own firm, but never mind. But a couple of them. I mean, one of them was quite a recent one where the firm itself was focused on more bookkeeping and virtual finance function, and it was costing them arm and a leg to actually outsource their accounting work in UK. So they came to us to say, could you outsource their accounting work? Could they outsource their so we started picking up from their bookkeeping and records and everything else and started producing their accounts. So eventually, the whole purpose of that exercise is that firms make a profit and firm becomes more cash rich, basically, because now you are getting the same service rather than paying per account. You're not paying for someone to produce all those accounts. And you know, with a very good quality work to make sure that you know, you can deliver those accounts to your clients in a very timely manner. Whereas previously that firm relied on someone or other accountancy firms in UK to help them with that, which was costing them quite a bit, basically. So that hybrid solution we offered them worked really well for them, and on back of that, now we are doing more work with them. So that's perhaps been one of the biggest success for us over the last year.
Oh, fantastic. Love that. I love that. So we've gone way over our 15 minutes. I always do. I don't know why. But thanks ever so much for coming on. How can people get hold of you? And what's the best way for them to see what you do?
I'm exhibiting at Accountants, so we will be at Accountants, and I'm exhibiting at Accountants. So if you want to,
wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, so we are actually taking this seriously. So yes, so we are exhibiting at Accountants. If you want to come and visit us on Accountants, then please do. Otherwise, connect with me on LinkedIn, drop me a message, and I'll arrange time to speak to you.
Okay, and you know the most important question about Accountants: what's the freebies you're giving away?
I don't know. I need to speak to marketing people to see what's been done, basically.
Excellent. So I've got one more question for you, but before we do that, I'm just going to quickly go to my wherever it is here and let everybody know that next week I've got Kirsty Birch coming on. So Kirsty is an accountant's coach. So so she's going to come on and tell us all about what she does and how she helps accountants and bookkeepers. So she's here next week. So my last question to you is, what did you want to be when you grew up, when you were at primary school, Naveed?
Oh, yeah. So it has changed a few times. I think I wanted to be a doctor, and then I wanted to be a police officer.
Well, you actually did that, didn't you?
I did that, yes. And then I ended up being an accountant. There we go.
Excellent. Excellent. Naveed, it's been absolutely delightful to chat to you today. Thank you so much for coming along. Oh, I think we've got another comment there. So just saying that hybrid is definitely the way to go. Firdousi, thank you so much for coming along. Thanks for all your comments and your questions. And we will see you all next week. Thank you, Naveed. You take care. All the best. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye.